Now at 5 and streaming on crossroadstoday.com, the Food Bank of the Golden Crescent coordinates with emergency management to serve the community. The increased demand they're seeing during the cold weather. And as Americans dig out from the monster winter storm, brutal cold now grips the nation. Millions now on alert as dangerous conditions are still ahead. And the lights are back on for families across the crossroads, the restoration effort after the winter storm.
Well, how many blankets are we going to need for tonight? We'll be talking about the temperatures at night and in the daytime all the way into the weekend, coming up in a moment.
Plus, Victoria's Warming Center extends operations as more freezing weather approaches, the expanded schedule, and how the community can help. You're watching 25 News now at 5. Good afternoon and thanks for being with us. I'm Shawna Currie. When the cold moved in, the Food Bank of the Golden Crescent did not slow down. They stepped up. 25 News Now reporter Ray Mosley spoke with President Robin Cadle about how they continued serving the community. And Ray, what did she have to say?
Well, Shawna, Cadle says the mission doesn't stop just because it's cold, and neither does the effort to feed families across the crossroads. The Food Bank of the Golden Crescent has been in constant communication with the Victoria Office of Emergency Management to feed residents in the crossroads. The food bank has been delivering food and water to several local organizations, including Christ's Kitchen. President of the Food Bank of the Golden Crescent, Robin Cadle, says despite the cold, serving the community remains a priority.
It just is part of our mission of helping heal the hurt of hunger. I mean, making sure that people have basic needs and making sure that when the emergency management team get out there and see the extra need that we work alongside them.
Christ's Kitchen has been seeing an increase in the number of people they serve. Executive Director Bill Redden says they've been feeding an average of more than 100 people a day during the inclement weather.
Our mission is to prepare and give one hot meal a day to anybody who comes in here. No questions asked.
Whatever the weather brings, Christ's Kitchen and the Food Bank of the Golden Crescent are committed to making sure no one in the community goes without food. Leaders say the colder the weather brings more people through their doors. As long as the cold sticks around, both groups say they'll be there to help those who need it. Shawna?
And with more freezing weather in the forecast, the hours at Victoria's Warming Center are extended into this next weekend. Our Lady of Sorrows Trinity Hall will now open each night through Sunday morning, except for Thursday night. Anyone is welcome to stay, get warm clothing and food starting at 5 each day through 9 the next morning. There's also a limited amount of space for pets. Organizers are also asking for additional volunteers at the warming centers through this weekend. And bitter cold is settling in much of the country after that massive winter storm. It's claimed the lives of at least 30 people. ABC's Rena Roy has the latest as the cold temperatures means the snow won't be melting anytime soon.
As many Americans try to dig out after that monster winter storm, brutal cold is now gripping much of the nation. About 220 million people on alert for extremely low temperatures from Texas to Florida and New York. In New York City, chopper video shows huge chunks of ice in both the East and Hudson rivers. Staying warm difficult in this bitter blast with hundreds of thousands of customers without power. In hard-hit Tennessee, warming centers opening and the National Guard in place to help. Trees taking out power lines, some catching fire. ABC's Victor Oquendo on the ground there.
We're in the Donaldson neighborhood in Nashville, hit incredibly hard. It is covered by snow and ice. There are down trees and limbs in every direction. And look on the ground here. That is a down power line.
Ice also covering some major roadways there, crippling travel. In Texas, volunteers with the United Cajun Navy bringing food, doing welfare checks, and looking for dangerous black ice on rural roads.
We don't deal with ice. We don't deal with this. And it was me running, a few people, making sure that everyone was taken care of.
And travel in Louisiana still treacherous too. Traffic stalled on Interstate 20. One truck driver telling ABC affiliate KTBS he moved less than half a mile in 8 hours. State police and the National Guard helping stranded drivers, urging people to stay off the still icy roads.
And this storm also impacting air travel with cancellations stretching into today. American Airlines says the storm has been the most disruptive in the airline's 100-year history, canceling more than 9,000 flights. Rena Roy, ABC News, New York.
Well, thankfully, we are seeing some warmer afternoons now after a record low temperature this morning. Let's go to Chief Meteorologist Mac Perez for a first look at the forecast. Mac.
Yes, I'm sure the folks that headed out early in the morning went, wow, what is that? It was 16 degrees. We set a new record low for this morning. Tonight, however, because the winds are no longer out of the north, they're almost out of the east, we're going to warm up. It'll only be 29 degrees tonight, so we'll be slightly below freezing, but we've been through a whole lot worse. Now, these temperatures are going to moderate a little bit. They're not really going to get warm, but we do have sunny days to deal with, and so we'll be talking more about that coming up a little bit later on. Shawna, back to you.
Well, the lights are back on for thousands of families across the crossroads. More than 4,000 power outages were reported to AEP during the winter storm, most of those in Port Lavaca and Bay City. AEP External Affairs Manager V. Strauss says the top priority was getting electricity restored to as many homes as possible as quickly as possible.
AEP Texas, we have a driving goal to have perfect power. So our objective is to do things that in the long run would keep power on. It's very rewarding to get power restored.
Strauss says the power outages that were reported were resolved in less than an hour. And to get more news, weather, and sports headlines, come to our website, crossroadstoday.com. Well, stay with us. Straight ahead on 25 News now at 5. Victoria College is helping students move forward by making transfers to a 4-year university easier. Plus, an AI company CEO issues a stark warning about his own technology, the disturbing behavior his systems have already shown.
Our military hero of the month is U.S. Army Major Clay Fetters. Fetters is currently serving as the interim police chief for the city of Victoria, but he says most of everything he learned in the military.
Even at that time, the drill sergeant saw leadership skills in me that I didn't know I had, but that was kind of the beginning of learning to be in charge of people and motivate people.
After boot camp, Fetters wound up a long way from the coastal bend.
And at Fort Drum, that was part of our training in the winter, as we did cross-country skiing, snowshoeing, downhill skiing, and there's these sleds called Akios, and they weigh about 300 pounds. And so you have these straps that go over your shoulders, and 2 soldiers with their rucks on pull this 300-pound sled through the snow.
Well, wait a minute. You're a South Texas boy, and all of a sudden you're in the snow. How did that work out?
That was also a shock for the people from the South that really hadn't had to deal with snow. So living and operating in those environments is actually, very tough, and there's definitely a skill set that you have to learn.
And from the snow, naturally, Fetters was deployed to the desert, to Operation Iraqi Freedom.
At that time, I was a 11 Bravo, which is an infantryman, and I was a squad leader. And so I had 2 fire teams of 3 to 4 people, and 2 to 3 Humvees with machine guns mounted on top. We did get attacked in Nasiriyah one night. We got ambushed with machine gun fire pretty heavily, but luckily no one was injured. Our vehicles were shot up, but we got out of the ambush and were able to return to safety. And in basic training, there was a lot of yelling, and actually at my first duty station it was too. That's not my leadership style. I think earning people's respect will get you much further than just yelling at them.
Well, isn't that the whole drill, that I yell at you until I intimidate you and you do what I want?
That type of leadership, from my opinion, people will do exactly what you tell them to do and nothing more. But if you gain their respect first, they're going to go above and beyond to try to do the best for the team and for you as their leader. I have a total of 30 years of service.
And how long have you been a police officer?
22 and a half years.
I find it interesting that you're wearing 2 hats all the time.
Yes.
So So if you're National Guard and you're a police officer, you don't know which hat you're going to wear this week.
No, if it's something hit locally, I would try my best to stay here. But as a company commander, I had an obligation to my soldiers to be there for them, and my family understood that after so many years.
Fetters now has only one job, and it's a big one.
I'm the interim chief, and I've been the interim chief since October, and I think the city manager's trying to just giving me a shot right now, and I'm doing the best I can to keep the department running smooth and efficiently, and recruit. And actually right now we're moving into this new building, which is a major movement to move the entire police department and our equipment over here. But so far it's going very smoothly with the help of our fellow city departments, our IT department and the city manager. They're being very supportive, and so far it's going great.
Our military hero of the month is retired Army Major and Police Chief Clay Fetters. If you know a veteran and you want to tell us their story, go to crossroadstoday.com/military hero. I'm Maclovio Perez, 25 News Now.
Crews have repaired a gas leak in Victoria. It happened on Sabine Street near Victoria College and Citizens Medical Center mid-afternoon today. Crews say they were putting in a new utility pole when an unmarked gas line was hit. No evacuations were ordered and no injuries were reported. Victoria College is making it easier for students to transfer to Texas State University. The schools signed an agreement to streamline transfer pathways for bachelor's degrees, helping hundreds of students move their credits smoothly. The deal makes transferring core classes simpler and gives VC honors students a path into the Texas State Honors Program. Programs include health sciences, education, animal science, chemistry, and music. Students can learn more about the transfer agreement at the VC Advising Center. A Jackson County man now faces years of supervision after admitting to stealing livestock. Hayden Morton pleaded guilty to livestock theft and received 6 years of probation. He was 17 at the time. Investigators say the case began with a report of a stolen horse. A special ranger with the Texas and Southwestern Cattle Raisers Association used a possible suspect name, phone records, and other leads to track the horse to Brazoria County and recover it. Investigators say that Morton may also be linked to another theft in DeWitt County, which remains under investigation. Victoria County Precinct 3 is making it easier for residents to access services. Starting Wednesday, February 4th, the Courtesy Station on Grouse Road will be open Wednesdays and Saturdays from 7:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Residents can still access the same services to discard household trash, scrap metal, and other items. They just have more opportunities to stop by now. Officials encourage everyone to take note of the new days and hours when planning their visits. A few important dates are getting close in the upcoming March primary election. The deadline to register to vote is Monday, which is February 2nd. The last day to apply for a ballot by mail is Friday, February 20th. Early voting begins Tuesday, February 17th. The March 3rd primary election will have many local, state, and national races on the ballot. And Victoria ISD is inviting the community to weigh in on a possible school bond. The district will host a town hall meeting tomorrow from 6 to 7:30 p.m. at the Victoria Fine Arts Center. District leaders will walk through a proposed May 2026 bond, explain school finances, tax rates, and possible projects, as well as break down the work of the Bond Action Committee, which has been meeting since last summer. A panel of district and board leaders will answer questions from the audience. Victoria ISD says the meeting is about transparency and gathering community input. No vote or action will be taken. If you see news happening, call our newsroom at 361-576-0026 or send us an email to staff@crossroadstoday.com. The CEO of a major AI company is issuing a stark warning about the dangers ahead. ABC's Sophie Flay has the details, as one industry leader says we're not prepared for what's coming.
One of the biggest names in artificial intelligence is warning the technology is about to, quote, test who we are as a species. Dario Amodei, CEO of AI company Anthropic, warns the government and tech companies are underestimating the dangers of the bad actors using technology. He points to the 1995 sarin gas attack on the Tokyo subway that killed 14 people. The attack took a cult of scientists to execute. But Amodei warns AI now gives that same power to anyone. He writes, the disturbed loner who wants to kill people but lacks the discipline or skill to do so will now be elevated to the capability level of a PhD virologist. The 43-year-old billionaire also issuing a warning that science fiction movies have made for years.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
That the technology could go rogue and begin to ignore human orders. He recently admitted that during testing, his own company's AIs have tried to manipulate humans.
In lab environments, sometimes the models will develop the intent to blackmail, the intent to deceive.
So what can be done? He says we need a tech embargo to stop the sale of chips and data centers to China. He's also pushing for strong transparency laws and heftier taxes on big AI companies.
Sophie Flay, ABC News, New York.
As for the economy, Amodei predicts AI will erase half of entry-level white-collar jobs in 5 years.
We are, of course, looking at the temperatures out there. We were looking at 52 is current reading. Tonight, after the 18 degrees that we had this morning, which was a record, we got no problems. We're only getting down to about 28. We'll be talking about the milder weather rolling into the crossroads coming up in a moment. Well, the daytimes are very comfortable and nice and sunny, but the morning was rather cold this morning. Next couple of mornings still on the chilly side, but not quite as bad. We're slowly getting out of the deep freeze. And one of the big reasons is that high pressure was on top of us. That was getting us the north wind yesterday that was really sharp. Well, now the center has moved offshore, so we're picking up a little bit more of a southeast wind. That's slowly going to moderate the temperature up a little bit because obviously the wind comes off the Gulf water there, so that's going to help out. Band of cloud cover sort of drifting over North Texas. They had a little sprinkle here, a little sprinkle there, but no significant problems. They really, above I-20, if you know Abilene to Midland, they still have snow on the ground and ice on the ground, so they're having to drive very carefully up there, all the way up to the Panhandle and all of eastern New Mexico, this area of the state, just still snow on the ground. Of course, the snow on the ground goes all the way up to New England, where they're still having problems with that deep area of low pressure. As far as we're concerned tonight, we still have a freeze advisory because we're getting down to about 28, 29 degrees. Okay, it's below freezing, but it's, not 16 or 18. That's going to help, but I guess if anything is a wet area, there's water on the roadways, that would refreeze at night, so we got to be very cautious with that. Out here in the hill country, we've got a wind chill advisory because every time the wind chill gets down below 15, they put out that advisory. And of course, the weather statement up here for the icy roadways, there you see the little bitty bands of ice and snow that are still basically drifting across North Texas. For the next couple of days, our temperatures at night will slowly climb out of the deep freeze. Here's Tuesday at 1 in the morning. You can see how we're dropping down into the 30s, and we'll go all the way to Wednesday sunrise, 6 a.m., and even 32, but you probably going to see a 28 or a 29 here or there, so rather chilly. Now the daytime, however, is going to warm up very nicely. We'll get up to almost 60 degrees tomorrow, and then as we get to the weekend, it gets even nicer. So here are the low temperatures. 29, then 32 Thursday, and a whopping 37 on Friday, and then a little cool front comes in on Saturday, Sunday that actually cools us back down a little bit. But the big picture, as I mentioned yesterday, it's very important. The major vortex of cold air is right here, and that's not moving. So what does that do for us? Well, it puts us on the backside, and we get this dry northwest flow. Now, when it comes out of the Canadian or the Arctic, I mean, that's a cold wind. You saw that. And even though there is some stormy weather on the west coast, the storms from the west are not going to be crossing over. They're not as cold from the west coast, and they have more moisture. So we're going to stay kind of cold and dry, basically, through the next 5 to 7 days, as the east coast is just going to get hammered because they're not going to get out of the deep freeze. In fact, oh, here we go. Yeah, this is a good map. Watch this. Tonight, we're getting down to, we're looking at Wednesday, 2 a.m., and then we go 6 a.m. You can see below freezing and below zero throughout much of the northeast. So that's cold, okay. So tomorrow, looking for a beautiful day with a 58 as a high in Port Lavaca. Cuero's getting up to a nice 58 degrees after getting down to about 28 tonight. Looking nice and dry for the weekend. This little front will give us another north wind, which will continue the cooler weather, but overall things will be on the dry side through the weekend. That's your 7-day forecast, reminding everybody we do have this QR code. We'd love for you to scan that. Put Crossroads Today on your phone. And here's Shawna.
Still to come, new data reveals a troubling trend about how Americans are feeling when it comes to the economy. The Dow plunged more than 400 points today, with the S&P 500 and NASDAQ both closing in the green. Oil spiked $1.76 to $62.39 per barrel. America's economic mood sunk in January to its lowest level in more than a decade. The Conference Board released its Consumer Confidence Index today. It reported a nearly 10-point drop last month, landing at its weakest level since 2014 and significantly lower than what some experts predicted. Consumers cited inflation, prices, tariffs, and geopolitical tensions as key worries. The National Retail Federation expects Americans will spend a record $29 billion this Valentine's Day. That's according to the NRF's annual survey. Shoppers are budgeting nearly $200 for gifts. That includes gifts for romantic partners, family members, children's classmates and teachers, co-workers, even pets. Candy remains the most popular Valentine's Day gift, followed by flowers, cards, a night out, and jewelry. Well, after a lot of social media requests for its return, McDonald's is going vintage and bringing back the popular Changeables Happy Meal from the 80s. That starts today. Customers can get the Happy Meal, including toys that are a lot like Transformers. The toys look like menu items, but can be turned into other figures like dinosaurs or robots. The Changeable Happy Meal was first introduced in 1987. This time around, there will be 16 updated versions of Changeables to choose from. McDonald's says it is a limited run. Still ahead, Fish and Wildlife officials launch a rescue operation along the Texas coast. The cold weather victims that volunteers are working to save. Fish and Wildlife officials are rescuing cold-stunned sea turtles along the Texas coast. Monday's operation, with the help of volunteers, came as water temperatures drastically dropped around Padre Island. One turtle was found alive about 100 yards down the shore. Volunteers were able to take the sea creature to a rehab center to begin the warming process. Wildlife experts urge anyone who finds a cold-stunned sea turtle not to touch it and to call the Texas Sea Turtle Stranding and Salvage Network. And that is such an important rescue operation that they do for these turtles, because they really won't survive when the water gets to a certain temperature.
They're a bit far north from their tropical home, which was always warm, and so they're like us, you know, they're a little sensitive to that cold temperature.
That's why they like to sun when the sun is out, which it was out today.
Well,
it was
the
nice.
daytimes are nice. It's just, you know, how many blankets will you need tonight? We're only getting down to 28 or 29 tonight, so chilly but not as bad. Slowly warming for the weekend.
All right, so chilly at night. Enjoy the sunshine. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you back here in 30 minutes for 25 News Now.